So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Kristie Tobias, and I am the Governance Operations Lead for the Mayor's Transition Team. I've been in Pensacola now for 5 years, literally like on the dot, which is kind of cool. I travel for work as a healthcare consultant, so my main purpose in my job and really what drives my passion throughout life is optimizing businesses and organizations. So basically helping us work smarter, not harder, and really helping us identify the people that need to be doing the right jobs and the right skills, and really maximizing what I like to call human capital. Oftentimes what I see in businesses is we've got a lot of things going on, but we're missing the opportunity to really utilize the people that are within those businesses and utilize them to the best of their ability. So that's a lot of what I do in my day-to-day. I've been a traveling consultant for 5 years. I've been in healthcare administration or clinically in healthcare for my entire career, so about 17, 18 years now. So that's been my driving force and my passion. Outside of that, I love just getting to, when I'm here, I'm usually gone Monday through Thursday, but I love being here in Pensacola, getting to know the community much better. And I also love drinking wine. So those are my hobbies. But that's probably about it. What I would love to do today is just get a chance to know who is around the room. So I'll ask each of you to share who you are and what department you're representing, and then we'll jump in. We will be meeting today for about 45 minutes as a team, and then I'll open it up to public input. If it ends up in one of our last sessions, I'll say the very first leadership session that we had a lot of public input, and then we got a lot of online input, and so we actually ended up not having much public input the last time, which is kind of what we expected anyways. So if we don't have much public input, I will plan to stay here. So if you have anything you want to discuss one-on-one, I'm here. The reason why I asked you guys to come up here is, number one, I can't always hear that well, so if you're talking back there and I'm like, nope, no idea what you're saying, that's why. Number two, I really love to look people in the eye. I like to talk to you. I like to get to know you. That's why I'm here. This is not a punishment. This is not anything that's supposed to be negative. It really is just the best way that I could think of to get to know the employees of the city. Does that sound fair to y'all? Okay, and I do say y'all because I am a Southern girl. I will always be a Southern girl, and I'm okay with that. All right, so I want to go around the room, and we're going to start here. So just name and, not that I can't guess, area that you work in.
Gene Eggers, City Fire.
Perfect.
Jared Gruber, Fire Department.
Travis Darr, Fire Department.
Karen Thompson, Housing.
John Bartholomew, Fire Department.
Brian McCreary, Parks and Recreation.
Tommy Fry, Parks and Recreation.
And let's go back here to Rebecca.
Purchasing. Diane Moore, Pensacola Energy.
John Madden, Pensacola Energy.
Alex Odie, Parks and Rec.
We're going to hold the two of you back there.
Susan Cotton, Fire Admin.
Perfect.
Melinda Grogan, Fire Admin.
Come back to you.
Laura Major, Pensacola Police.
TK Woods, City Fire.
George Foss, Fire.
Jose Collins, Fire.
Okay, we'll hold there and go to the back.
Victoria D'Angelo, CRA.
Oh, I had to think. Sorry, I didn't see that.
You're good.
Stephanie Walls, Inspection Services.
Awesome, and congratulations.
Stephanie Walls, Inspections.
Jonathan Bilby, Inspections. Dennis Fleming, Sanitation.
So, I see you back there.
Jennifer Gossinger, I'm just a regular citizen.
Perfect, love it. No such thing as a regular citizen.
Robert, all the way in the back.
Where's Robert?
Robert.
Oh, Robert. Hi, Robert. Robert's my best friend. I literally see him every time I'm here. Yes.
A very
Very,
important
absolutely.
one.
Oh, Robert and I have spent a lot of time together. Awesome. Okay, we'll go back to you.
Amanda Catita, Human Resources. Emily LaShawn, Human Resources.
Hope Lunsford, Pensacola Police Communications.
Courtney Ennis, Pensacola Police.
Jennifer Cole, Pensacola Police. Kristen Brown, Pensacola Police.
Jennifer Rogers, Pensacola Police.
Tara Switzer, Pensacola Police.
I see we've got a row here.
There are no women at the
Please
police
note
department.
that
See
I am
that.
with the
Terrifying.
police department and not sitting with them. I don't know what that says.
I don't know, but I like it. Awesome. And last but not least.
Angela Rockstead, Fire.
Awesome. Anyone that I missed, I think someone walked in. I'm not sure. I can't see back there. Oh,
TR.
hiding behind there.
Miriam Woods, Technology Resources.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you guys again for being here. As a quick housekeeping note, I put the sign-in sheets in the back, so as you're walking out, just don't forget to sign in. So I make sure that I note that you guys are all here. So today's focus is going to be twofold. We're going to first focus on, I really just want it to be a conversation. My goal is to facilitate, so I may ask you guys questions, but I really want to hear from y'all. So a couple of key things that I always find is important whenever I'm working with any organization, whether it's with the city or within my regular job, is just understanding the voice of the employee and what that looks like. And so I like to connect that to employee engagement. So I know that there's an employee engagement survey that came out at the beginning of the year, and then there's the talks of employee engagement surveys moving forward that will be more consistent. But beyond that, I think one of the best things in the world is to hear from you about what it means to be an employee for the city and what drives you. So I'm adding just a very small point here that's not an agenda, but it's more so part of what I consider growth as a city employee. I would love to hear from y'all. What is it that drives you every day? What is it that makes you passionate about your work? What is it that brings you to the work that you do every single day? And I'd love to, again, there's no you don't have to raise your hand, but if you just want to just speak out and tell me, I would love to just hear what drives you. Like, why are you here?
I'll start.
Sure.
So, Pensacola, not really. I live in Gulf Breeze. I mean, I own a house in Gulf Breeze, but I lived in Pensacola for forever, and I love this town. I really do. And I worked for Escambia County for 14 years, and now I've worked for the city. In November, it was my 12th year anniversary, and so I'm all about trying to make this place better, to make people see what I see and love what I love. And as I said, going in the grocery store the other night, the guys from the big sailboat, America, they were checking out in front of me in Publix, and so I spent my time saying to them, thank you for coming, thank you for picking us. I love this place, and that's what makes me want to be here and work for the city every day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Who else wants to share? Yes, ma'am.
Paycheck, familiarity, comfort in my job, enjoying the people I work with.
Thank you for the bullet points. I appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Anyone else have some bullet points they would also like to share?
Family oriented. It's like a whole family working together, each department, and we kind of intertwine with each other. We bounce off each other, and it's like a completion.
Awesome. Thank you. Believe it or not, and I'm sure you guys will believe this is not the first time that I've heard that, actually. That's something that has resonated throughout the previous leadership sessions, and honestly, when I've had the chance to go and meet with all of the departments, that's also resonated there. Thank you. Others? We've got an entire line of the police, so you can't go wrong.
Fire and police.
Fire and police, we're waiting
You're
for
the
you.
big guys.
Well, for me, just the nature of the job of being a police officer coming to work every day is an adventure. But I've moved over in my career and I'm on the administrative side, so I'm learning to build new relationships with everyone that you see here when I was used to just being alone in a car. So it's exciting to come to work to see what they're going to teach me and what I'm going to learn from them.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Others?
I'll-
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
add in from the police side, and I think that, we sit in a different building, and I don't know if maybe some of the people that aren't centered at City Hall see this as well, but we end up getting really familiar with the people within our own building. Of course, everybody on the, on the table for us. I serve as part of the Employee of the Month nominating committee or the Employee of the Month committee for the city. One of 3 employees that the city has. And so it's really interesting for me to get to see what else is going on within the other divisions of the city, because I don't see that on a daily basis. I'm not at the fire stations, I'm not at Fire Hub. I've gotten to know Susan and them over there because we've worked with them on some projects. But I don't see Parks and Rec outside of, the fact that I live in the city limits. And so, so I think that that's been really interesting for me as I've looked at kind of growth within the city. But I grew up in Pensacola. I grew up in City Hall, more or less. My mom's been an employee of the city for over 50 years. And so I come to it from understanding that you don't get a closer touch to your life from a government standpoint than your local city and who picks up your garbage every day and who maintains the park around the street from you and who do you call when your neighbor's yard gets too crazy and you need code enforcement. You don't get a closer touch when it comes to government than municipal service. So I personally enjoy working in that aspect.
Thank you. And it's so true. It's interesting to me, kind of thinking of Pensacola, but thinking of, we have family members, friends that don't live here, right? Some of us do. And have you ever asked those family members and friends, well, who's the mayor of your city? What's your city look like? Do you know like what the city does, like what the city's mission is? And it's interesting how many people don't because they're not paying attention to it or it's not important to them. And one of the things, and I can speak for the transition team in saying this, one of the things that I know we were all excited about is that closer touch, which is exactly what you're talking about, getting to be invested and involved, because when you see the amazing things that is Pensacola, it's amazing to watch how that transpires and what that looks like for the city. So thank you for sharing that, and for those of you that have already shared, thank you guys for talking about what that means to you. Who else wants to share what drives them? Yes, ma'am.
I personally agree, the personal touch, but I love coming to work because I have the passion. I can still help people. I'm in communications, but I can still reach out and help somebody solve a problem, such as needing clothes or needing a place to stay. We can help them and guide them. And we've got the fire department that goes back and checks on people after their house is burned down. I mean, there's just so many ways that we help the citizens of the community, not just ourselves. And unfortunately, I use this word passion a lot, but you have to have the passion to do the job we do in the center I'm at. Because if you don't, you're not going to make it.
So true. Thank you, Hope. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to share what drives you? It's okay. So, in thinking about that, another thing I want to talk with you guys about, and it segues into that. So when you think about like what drives you, what brings you to work, what brings you passion, I also think about what it looks like for you in whatever role you are in to grow and to feel like you're continuing to grow. And how oftentimes we see that growth is connected to passion and that growth is connected to engagement. So my question for you guys is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just linear growth, but what growth looks like for you within your roles within the city, and what ways do you feel like we could continue to improve how to grow our city employees, just growth opportunities as a whole. So just thinking about growth opportunities, what does that look like?
Training, paid.
Well, yes, ma'am.
Picking up on the interconnectedness, I'm in the finance department, and a lot of what we do is connected to a lot of the different departments and their particular financial personnel. And so, for growth, we are rolling out new financial software, so there are going to be training sessions. You know, a lot of people have gotten certain trainings already. Yes, you.
I know.
But that's a way to grow, is to forget everything you knew about the old system. I'm sorry, it's going away, and we're all learning the new system. So that's just an opportunity to meet people and say, we've trained people over the years. Of course, those people move on to different departments or leave the city. New people come in, they don't have the training, they don't know, and there's no one in that department because the person who did it previously gave them a little bit of time, and then they had to go. So then they're trying to reach out, we're trying to reach back and say, okay, this is how you do it now, but remember, this is going to change. It doesn't always stay static. So there's a lot of growth in learning new systems and being able to learn new systems and not stick. Because, okay, you know this and you don't want to learn something else. You have to learn something else, and that's good for you. It keeps your brain active.
Well said. Very nicely said. Thank you for that. And very true.
Leave for training.
Leave for training. Well, I want you guys to think about growth within. So like that developmental growth. I think you're hitting the nail on the head for sure, which is that training piece, but also being open to change. Yes, ma'am.
I think in order for growth, then you do have to get everyone engaged. And I was just talking at our staff meeting yesterday. More volunteer work. I left the job I was at for 14 years for a pay cut to come here because I thought that there was more community. And I do see it like with the fire department and police department, but as a whole, I don't see enough. And
I had read an article that mentioned VTO, volunteer time off, and I think that would be, you know, a way to get people more involved in volunteering, if possible. But volunteering in general, even without that, I think would get people a little bit more engaged.
Okay. Excellent. Has anyone ever worked or seen an organization that actually has VTO, volunteer time off? One or two people. So it's interesting you mentioned that because so I work for Huron Consulting Group, but under Huron is Studer Group. And so that is something that we do actually have and invest in. And so we started tracking it, and it was amazing because I'm going to go out on a limb and just ask, how many of you guys are involved in the community? How many of you do volunteer work? I figured I'd see a few hands up. It was amazing to look at the community hours that kind of go unnoticed, because we don't necessarily volunteer because we want people to recognize us. We do it because it's part of our community and we want to give back. But it connects to exactly what you said, engagement. We found that there was a direct correlation to the higher the volunteer hours, the stronger the engagement scores. And not saying like every single time, but there was that connection because people were also getting that time to be able to do that. And again, not to say that I necessarily have control over the time off that we get, but I do have the recommendations over what does it look like to have these kind of perks and benefits to the community. There have been conversations already when I've been going to different departments about the perks of being a city employee. Like, what does that look like? What are some things like, you know, volunteering our time and getting the opportunity to be able to do that, that could easily be infused in time into our current system. So I love that you say that, because there is actually a strong correlation to that and really engaging employees.
Well, I think it's almost impossible to not feel positive when you're doing that. So you feel positive, then you're engaged, and
Absolutely.
you want to do more.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you so much. Other things that growth and development look like for you?
I would say obtaining certifications. I know in human resources we're working on right now our certified professional human resources certification, and I know like in some other areas of the city they can, you know, you can try to obtain, like, you know, for growth, you know, maybe obtaining a Class B license or a Class A license, and so, or different certifications involved with your own specific area, and just continuing to learn and grow through that.
I have a negative, sorry.
It's okay. There's no negative, it's just feedback.
Jumping on to what Rebecca said, and talking about what, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Laura.
Laura said. Housing is also outside the building, so I interact, I'm a finance person for housing, so I interact in the building with finance people around the city. And I can tell you, this is the first time I've heard of a new financial system. This seems like a very odd place to hear about it for the very first time. And the other thing she said was, oh, and by the way, we're already training. So I'm a financial person outside the building, therefore I will be on the very back, and input, non-input, whatever. I didn't even know it was coming until 2 months.
So it sounds.
You've been training already though, and that's all.
So it sounds like, and I hear you, and I unfortunately cannot impact the financial
Right.
system, but
Right.
one thing that it does sound like I'm hearing is, and this is actually something I've heard already, communication. There's a key opportunity, and it's not throwing anyone under the bus, it's just an opportunity. And I would consider that a growth opportunity as well,
Right,
both
that's what I was
within this room and outside of this room. So communication is a key. So when you think about growth and ways that we can continue to build together, it's that collaboration through communication, I think. And I saw a couple of head nods when you said that as well. And I've heard people mention that too. So not off base by any means, and not even a negative. It's just a reality. Sometimes there's opportunities with some communication and ways to grow through that. So thank you. That actually is very helpful.
I think that
Yes, ma'am.
one of the things that I like to look at when I look at growth is recognizing potential, and how you take that recognition of potential and drive growth at an individual level. I can say just from the police side, because that's where I work, Tara and I have both recently changed kind of positions in what we're doing, completely different than what we are, under the recognition that there was potential there to begin with. I know Courtney here with PD, one of our newest employees at the police department, already stepping into a supervisory role because we recognize potential. And I think where you find the balance point is once you've recognized the potential and you've set forth a plan for growth, how do you then develop that growth so that it is not a constantly trying to just maintain and keep your head above water, but truly teaching somebody how to swim and survive and thrive. And I think it's finding that balance point. And it's one of the things that, Courtney's actually taking over the role that I left, and so being there to shepherd, and yet still being able to kind of, for me, grow within my new position as well. And I think it's that kind of balance point that I don't know, and I don't want to, draw a negative, but I don't know if the city or even within the police department that we have a set process and procedure on how to kind of drive that. It is kind of taken as it comes on the fly. And we're lucky enough that we have some procedural dynamics that we can follow, but to really look at a true development, and I think Captain Brown would kind of say, we drive it in polices, in the sworn units. I don't know if it's the same in fire, but we're constantly looking at how do we develop an officer to move to a sergeant, to move to a lieutenant, to back up the system as we grow. I don't know that we see that as much in the civilian side when it comes to police or when it comes to employment. How do we continue to drive and develop personal accomplishment and growth while still maintaining an even flow at the bottom?
You're speaking my language right now, literally. Like I'm on fire right now. I'm so happy. So I love that you say that. So one of the things, and this is again why we're bringing all of you together, is because as recommendations come out, what I don't want, and I know what the rest of the team doesn't want, is for them to be like, where did this come from? Like, what is this recommendation? So one thing that we've been tossing around the pipeline, and I actually had a meeting this morning about infusing this into the city, are training programs. We have great resources internally within our human resources department that can actually help support things like what I call emerging leaders, or leaders in general as we're making those transitions. What often happens is the basic skill that you've learned as an employee and then you're moved into a supervisory role doesn't translate because now it's changed, right? If you've ever changed just positions, let alone moving to a leadership role, completely different, right? And I don't know about you, but I've been in that position where I've just sat there and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, but I'm just gonna sit here and smile because it's probably the best thing that I can do. And the goal is for that not to happen. And just like you said, lots of businesses have really been capitalizing on that and developing what we call people development programs or organizational development programs. Sometimes you don't have to have a full program or a team aligned. You just have to have one person who's passionate about it and ready to help support that. And so that is actually going to be woven into the recommendations, and knowing too that as we make recommendations at the end of February, we'll put together our full report. Just because we're making the recommendations doesn't mean we're not here to help implement them. That is literally my skill, is leadership development courses and training programs. And that is my commitment as well to the city. Whatever I can do to help provide the actual resources behind the training programs, that's what I want to be here to be able to do. So to go on to what you're saying, weaving in more of those resources for you guys, weaving in the things that we know we can do at little cost is really key. So I love that, and that is definitely something that is part of the recommendations, at least under my purview. So it's fabulous.
Well, and I think the dovetail, we sit at this table with people from every kind of department within the city, and yet, I'm lucky in that I've gotten to come to HR meetings and look at recommendations and the things that people are doing, but I can't say the same for anybody else within the individual departments.
Right.
And understanding that we all play an interconnected role in what it is, and how we can interact, I think is vital. And I say this as I live in the city. I live here, so for me, it's not about it just working for me as an employee, but this is the community. This is my community. I grew up here. I live here. I'm not planning on moving because packing is terrible, but
right? Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
I did want to make some comments in terms of growth opportunities. I think that that's definitely one of the biggest things that are important. Is what kinds of opportunities do you give your employees in terms of growth? And that
that can look a lot of different ways. Like you said, I mean, it could be a leadership issue, it could be a technical issue, you're learning a program, it could be a professional issue, and I think all of those things are important. And so we should look at it in a holistic way, because if you're not continuing to get training, then you're not continuing to grow in most cases. And so I think that's important to hone in on that point.
Awesome. Thank you. And absolutely true. I love that. So I'm looking at you from over here. No, perfect. Thank you so much. That's excellent feedback. Others that want to provide feedback on growth, even your own growth. So I know that some of you have worked here for a long time. What does growth look like for you from start to now?
Competence, increased competence in your field.
Others? Or did you all just wake up excellent at your work? I know I didn't.
Recognition from others that you are doing well. When Laura at the county says that Karen, you in housing are doing right, you got it, blah, 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 that always makes me feel better. I'm not an accountant, even though I do that financial stuff. So people that really are the accountants saying I'm doing good makes me feel good.
Absolutely.
So being generous with each other and recognizing the skills and what everybody's bringing to the table is important.
Excellent. And I love that you say recognition. Again, I'm asking you guys, when's the last time that you remember receiving something in the mail that was not a bill? Anyone? No?
A recognition letter.
So, one person. Which is awesome.
Don't like to talk.
That's okay.
Apparently.
It's okay. I'm staring you down. It's all good. So one of the things that's very interesting is when you start to get actual thank you cards in the mail. It's shocking, I know. We are in an email generation, right? We send emails, we send text messages, we send text message emails, all of that, which is great. It helps with efficiency, but sometimes we lose the art of the thank you. And so that's one of those things that, as we look at what recognition looks like, the simplicity of going up to someone and saying thank you can be something that means not only something to someone else, but it also can help with your own confidence in your work, confidence in what you're doing, which can also lead to an improvement in growth overall. The art of a thank you letter in the mail, sending something to someone's home. I know one of my favorite stories that I love is I had a coworker who sometimes you work as hard as you possibly can, you still can't get everything done, but it's recognized. And instead of sending the thank you letter to, the boss didn't just send a thank you letter to the coworker, he actually sent it to the coworker's spouse, because she'd been away from home for an extended period of time. And it was a thank you to the spouse and saying, I appreciate you letting me, steal your wife for a little bit. But it's that piece of reward and recognition as well, is going back to everything that everyone is saying is the community piece of what we're doing, and remembering who is providing the best work for you and for the community, and what that looks like and how you can show appreciation. So segueing a little bit, but that will go into reward and recognition as well, because I do want to get y'all's feedback on that. Anything else around growth and development, even your own personal growth and development from where you were to where you are now? I love that you specifically chose to sit as far away from me as possible. This is good.
I wasn't sure how close I could sit to you.
Am I scary? No, stay there. You can stay there. It's fine.
For me,
It's okay.
I started with the fire department 20 years ago. And going through every avenue and aspect of learning the fire department, how it functions, how it works. I've been in different areas. I was the receptionist, then I did ERPs and invoices. Now I'm doing payroll and budget. I got voted into grants, which I knew nothing about, and I still don't. I would love to have training on that. I do it by the seat of my pants and help with Miss Rebecca. I call her a lot. But it's just learning your department, getting a feel for it, knowing how it functions from the start to the end. We hire employees, they leave. I've done all of that. And it's like watching a newborn being born and growing up like a child. I'm serious, it really is. People don't look at it that way, but you nurture these guys through everything that they do, every building, everything. And it's like your own family watching them grow up.
Yeah.
And so you get to be a part of that, and it gives you such a pride that you hold your head up and say, I work with that department.
That is awesome. I love that passion and fire. And I love in hearing how everyone was talking earlier about what drives you, that you hear that passion and fire in what you do every day. I don't have kids, but how many of you guys have kids? So I have a niece. She's 2.5. She's the light of my world right now. She's wide open and doesn't stop talking, which is okay. I'm learning how to deal with that. But one of the great things, and I love that you say that, the analogy of a child, because one of the great things that I've learned is, number one, be careful what you say around her because she repeats you, which is sometimes good. But number two, it is exactly that, is watching life through her eyes, and watching what growth and development looks like for her. And it's that reminder too for us as employees, which is why I ask, and I'm glad that you shared that, like what that looked like for you going throughout the different areas. It's amazing to remind ourselves of where we came from. And it's amazing to remind ourselves sometimes that, you know what, we didn't always know what we know now. And so how are we making sure that other people know that, and other people understand that, and other people are proud of the work, that not only that I'm proud of my work, but other people know what that looks like too. So when we look at collaboration, one of the things that would also be phenomenal, and that we are looking at also weaving, or it's just me, looking at weaving into recommendations, is having more forums like this where you get more of that diversity of different departments coming together. I know that Mayor Robinson has started hosting town halls, but there are employee forums as well, and there are great ways to do that in an effective way, but it gives you the chance to kind of see life in the day of someone else, and hearing what's important to other people is key, and it just engages and brings you together as a team, because at the end of the day, you guys are all a team. Regardless of what department you're working in, you're all a team. So those are things that I think would be great to get to see you guys, and I see some heads shaking like that you agree, and for those of you that don't agree, just keep staring stonily at me, like I'm a crazy person, but that's okay. But I think that's a great way to bring everyone together. So yes, ma'am.
I just want to comment on that.
Yes.
I used to work for the county, and we used to do that at the department level, where, at some of our staff meetings, we would have
A different person.
divisions
Yep.
within the department. So the divisions would come and say, well, this is my role as an employee, and this is what I do every day,
How did
And
you
it's
find that?
helpful to, understand, because even within a small department, you didn't know what everyone did. And so I did feel like that was a good thing to know that.
Excellent. Thank you. I love that. And I'm glad that you found benefit in being able to do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Other things about growth and development. Okay, so we're going to segue into reward and recognition. We already started touching on that just a minute ago, but would love to hear from y'all. Oftentimes, when you have reward and recognition programs in organizations, or what I've seen a lot of times, is you have this small group of the senior most leaders in the company that have decided what reward and recognition looks like, and have not consulted anyone, haven't talked to anyone else except for that very small group of people. And reward and recognition looks very different at different stages of your journey within your company or within the city. So I would love to hear from y'all when you think about reward and recognition, when you think about what is powerful or meaningful to you about being recognized. What does that look like? Like, what does reward and recognition look like to you? What's something that's meaningful in reward and recognition?
I'd rather have a personal touch, like one-on-one. As far as being recognized in public, I could care less about that, but one-on-one touch from my boss. Reward, sure, I'll take reward, but.
Excellent. Thank you. Others? Yes, ma'am.
I like how the fire department leads you an annual award ceremony, and we recognize firefighters and also community, people within the community, and it gives a chance for the citizen to also be recognized by a department. So I like how they not only reach within, but they also reach without.
Awesome.
The departments recognize people.
I like how you said that. I like that they reach within and also how they reach without. I'm going to steal that, actually. I'm going to use that. I hope you don't mind. I love that. That's excellent. Thank you. Others? People don't like to be rewarded and recognized? I know you do. I do. And you've already said yours. I appreciate it.
I think most people don't like to publicly be rewarded and recognized.
Spotlight, that center retention can be very difficult. At housing we touch people very close to where they live, because we provide housing for them. And one of the things that Marcy has put in place within the last year or two is whenever there's a thank you note, she always brings them to the staff meeting, she shares them all to staff. And the people and that's all they're really saying is, I got my house, thank you so much for helping me. You know, you went above and beyond, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all they want to say. I'm sure there's a lot of negatives out there too, but the bottom line is, every staff meeting, every individual person that got a note or a letter gets thanked by Marcy through the citizens who have sent the thank you notes.
Awesome.
And years ago, when the whole, only $25 gifts and all that stuff came out, I remember when it was a new concept. I remember telling people that wanted to thank me, what can I do? What can I bring you? And I remember always telling them, please don't give me money. I can't take any of that. But if you will send a thank you note to my boss, that will go a long way. So I just tell people that all the time when it comes to that. How can I thank you, city employee or county employee? Send a thank you note to my boss and tell him how I helped you. That's what would be helpful.
Love that. Thank you. So true too.
I have a negative.
Sure.
I know a member that received Employee of the Month. When they received the Employee of the Month, the person on the committee made sure they let them know, oh, we got a few of those, but, we wanted you to have it because you'd been submitted, 2 or 3 times. And then when you get the award, there's many misspellings in the award, and then you send it back, and it still comes back with many misspellings, and it's not really recognized as, damn, you did a good job, thanks. It's like, oh, well, here, we want you to have it because you don't do that. We all want to be recognized for what we are and what we do.
So
Does that make sense?
It does. It sounds like, and y'all challenge me if I'm not hearing this right, investing in the reward and recognition the right way. If not, it'll backfire if you don't invest in it the right way. Is that what everyone is hearing? Yep. And
Don't
it's
demean
true.
somebody.
Very true. Have you ever gotten a promotion or something really positive happened in your life and you have that one person or that one friend who's like, oh, good for you?
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of. And you guys are all thinking of that person in your brain that does that. And so that's the thing that we don't want to happen. It's that investment in what reward and recognition should be. So I actually love that you say that because that reminds us of the importance of doing it the right way.
One thing I do for my people, this comes out of my own pocket because we don't have the money, but somebody would do something extra, I'll write them a thank you note and give them 2 movie tickets because maybe they volunteer to work overtime, which they get paid for, but they've taken away from their family. So that's just me. I'm crazy.
So that, I think, goes back to my point. As peers, we need to step up and recognize those around us that are doing a good job in some way.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a great challenge for today. Sometime this month, we've got 2 weeks left, recognize someone for something they did. Not that I can tell you what to do, but as a recommendation, I would suggest doing that. It's interesting how you don't realize the impact you have on people's lives. And not that everyone has to be told you're doing an amazing job all the time, but boy, isn't it nice to be told like once in a while. I mean, if any of you have spouses or significant others, it's always nice to hear the thank you for, cleaning or cooking or something, whatever you did. Or for me, thank you for, singles, never mind. Or doesn't apply. Hanging out, taking care of my niece. So yeah, no, I love that. That's perfect. Yes, ma'am.
For that.
Yes.
I think recognizing the mundane, because I think we get
yes.
stuck in this
Good
rut
point.
of like, it's the things that we do every single day. We come in and it's like a clockwork. I'm gonna pick up these pieces of paper and this stack of papers and I'm gonna shuffle them into all of the things that they're supposed to be shuffled in. And that can get mundane, but miss 3 days and you're screwed.
Makes a difference.
And so
Absolutely.
it's recognizing that mundane, and I think it kind of started as a joke, but somebody started writing these employee of the moment. little things. Like, I'm gonna recognize you because that person who came in and yelled at you, you didn't lose your crap and yell back, and you stayed calm, and you presented a city face that we can be proud of. Like, it's those little things in the mundane that we don't recognize every day, but that happen every single day. And I can say from sitting on the Employee of the Month committee, there are 3 of us. It's Jose with housing, and he's with finance, isn't he?
With
Jose?
purchasing, yes.
And then there's
But
2 of
he's
us from the
purchasing.
police department.
Purchasing.
And it's difficult for us because I think that there are certain divisions and certain departments within the city that say we as a standard will put somebody forward as Employee of the Month every single month. Police and fire, I think, do that every single month. There is always somebody from the police department. There is always someone from the fire department. And I've sat in those meetings and said, where are the other departments? Where are they? Like, I know, and I've actually gone in and talked in those meetings to the HR rep, and I'll be like, I literally saw like a news story that hit WAR about a sanitation worker who was going and picking, like, he knew that something had happened to this family and thought it was weird that the garbage hadn't been brought to the road for 2 weeks, and he knocked on the door and he figured out that somebody had, like, where is the recognition for that above and beyond, and are we getting lost in the shuffle that we don't see those types of things? And yeah, and he actually, some of that stuff came out, like, but we can't force that. Like, we're sitting in the room looking at the piece of papers that are in front of us and saying, and it's one of those things, because I'm going to be honest, I campaigned for that pretty hard to get on that committee. I'm not going to talk about the memes I created, but it's one of those things that I didn't want to get on that committee to recognize police department every month. Like, I wanted to look at it from a full city side, and when there have been times that we've had police officers who, I know that case and I know what it is and I know that person, but look at this amazingness that happened over here, and how to, like, we went with that. We, the 2 police people in the room were like, I mean, this guy's great, and we know him and we love him and we share a brotherhood and like a fraternal relationship, but this is amazing, and I don't think that we see enough of that. Like, it's something that I've said to Ed Sisson every time I've gone in there, like, this is it? We've got 2 to choose from today? So I would like to see that more, but I also appreciate celebrate the mundane.
Absolutely.
Find that employee of the moment and say, you kind of kicked butt at that.
I love the employee of the moment. I love exactly what you said is awesome, because we have to take responsibility for what recognition looks like and owning that amongst ourselves. Do you guys remember superlatives, like senior superlatives in school? Yeah. So my team that I work with, and keep in mind, I work in a virtual environment, so engagement is something that we have to work at for sure. But we decided to give each other superlatives. None of them were serious, but I think that's the point too, is being okay with having some fun with the people that you're around, and that is a type of recognition as well. Just connecting with each other and being okay with sharing those employee of the moment opportunities, or having superlatives or things like that, like kind of infusing some unique and creative ways to recognize the people that you see every single day, and showing that you care for them. So I know we're right at the time where I would break for public input. Please stay, because I do also want you guys to rate the meeting, but is there anyone that signed up for public input by chance? I don't think there may be. Okay. Looks like we don't have any public input this time, which is okay. So, which I usually enjoy it, but what I would love to do is, like I said, my promise is that I will stay after, so if there's any feedback that you did not want to share in the group and you'd like to share with me one-on-one, I would be happy to receive that. But I am going to go around the room like we did before, and just ask you to rate the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is you're a horrible person, please don't ever come back, and 10 is, I have to be careful the way I say this, because last time I said it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and people were like, well, I don't like bread, so I'm not going to say sliced bread. 10 is, this was great, is what I'll say. So before I do that, don't forget to sign the sign-up sheet as well. So go around. Scale 1 to 10. 10. Thank you. It's your package. 10. Is that a 10? You can just shake your head, you're like, yes, sir.
10.
Okay.
10.
You can give whatever score you want.
7.
I want honesty. 10. Yes, sir.
9.
Okay.
8.
10.
Okay, it's like I can't see you back there. We'll keep going, Dubai.
9.
Okay.
10.
10. Perfect. I'm gonna hold there. Perfect. All right.
I'm gonna go with solid sweet tea on the 1 to sliced bread scale.
Oh,
Solid sweet tea.
Solid sweet tea. Okay.
Yeah.
I like. Huh. All
You're
right.
a Southern girl. I figured you'd get
I
it.
love that. I haven't had sweet tea in a while. I like the sweet tea or red wine, one or the other. I love it. Thank you. All right, good. Okay, sorry. Yes, sir.
8.25.
If you don't stop. Last time you did 8.75. Okay. And let's hold there. 8.5. I can't see you. What? I can't hear you.
Barbecue
I'm
and
sorry.
coleslaw.
Barbecue and
On a
coleslaw.
Southern scale there.
Hey, you went there, and I appreciate you for that. I really do. Okay, good. We'll come back up to you, Christine.
9. 9.
That noise. Okay.
7. I have to say this.
Sure.
Only because we did not know what to expect.
Right.
So we were unprepared for this meeting.
Did you not get the agenda?
No.
Okay.
We only got you need to be in this meeting
Okay.
at this time, and it was like a brief of what was going to happen. So I think that you would have gotten more input if
why
we
you got the
knew
silent treatment.
what we were walking into, and we did not.
I
I mean,
know
I'm
what-
just honestly telling
I
the
don't-
truth. We had no clue.
I can second
That's why we
that.
were sitting back there.
Yeah.
We was like, okay, what do we?
So how formal is this meeting?
Yes.
Are we
We did
supposed
not
to be at the
know.
dais? Are we supposed to be
Okay.
at the
Yes.
back? That's,
No,
So I
that's
didn't
great.
get, no, we did
I
not
did get an agenda.
get the agenda ahead of time, Penny.
I
And
did
so
get
we,
one.
we walked in not sure what to expect or what was going on. So I think we would have had more input. Huh?
So do you see this meeting as a requirement?
No, I mean, I have to say if you can be there, but I think that if we'd have known exactly what we were walking into and knew what to expect and had the agenda, maybe we would have had more.
Communication, sorry.
No, that's good feedback. It really is, because those are the things that I need to know. Like, and I appreciate all of you that have come, and I'll get you your last but not least rating. But no, that is, thank you for the honesty. I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am. Last but not least.
I do agree with her, but you are a 10. We are bad on input.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And I will hang back here until right at 2:30. So if you have anything additional that you want to share with me, please feel free. If not, please make sure you sign in so that I know who you are and that you came. And thank y'all. Appreciate it.
What is your expectation for next week? This very thing?
It's just an additional time to have.
Sorry.